With YouTube demonetizing independent media, please consider becoming a patron today for just $1 per month. Link below. Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is the Mundane Matt channel. And over the course of the past couple of years, when I talk about these issues involving college campuses and the decline in male enrollment and the decline in male graduation, as well as the burden of, well, student loan debt, the average bachelor degree comes with a $37,000 student loan debt. It's always interesting to see universities work against something rather than for something. And that's kind of what I'm seeing here in regards to the Denver University, or University of Denver, is expanding its female-only program despite low male enrollment. So maybe they're just playing the game for who they believe is going to graduate. They're playing to that effect, maybe, I don't know, to get more alumni in order to get more donations down the road, or maybe they're just bigoted scumbags. Well, let's take a look to see what we find, shall we? Now, it says here that despite ongoing issues with male enrollment, the University of Denver is set to expand its female-only program designed to promote female success. Because of course they are. It's 2018, ladies and gentlemen. Equality is not really a thing anybody on that side particularly wants, which is unfortunate. It is unfortunate. Right? I know I criticize the left often, and I'm honest and upfront about my political leanings are more towards the left than the right. But it still drives me up the damn wall when I listen like this and go, you want equality, you want a 50-50 split, but now you're really doing more to push men away. Why? Why? Do they not have a space in academia? Probably not in this day and age, right? That's the unfortunate thing. Now, founded in 1888, the Colorado Women's College initially sought to provide educational access to women at a time when they were largely excluded from higher education. By 1982, however, it merged with Denver University, and by 2016, it ceased granting degrees. So basically, I would say became a full part of the University of Denver. To this day, the Colorado Women's College continues to operate as an arm of University of Denver, employing 5 full-time staffers, offering research grants, and hosting events throughout the year dedicated to the advancement of women and girls. Well, what happens when the previous minority then becomes the majority? How is that then move forward? How is that then looked at? How is that then, I guess, reassessed? Right? And that is a good question, because we've been hearing about this now for decades, right? Inequality in our educational system, inequality in our justice system, inequality in this, inequality in that, inequality. And there are, do not get me wrong, many instances of outright inequality that do impact minority and impoverished people and things like that. 100%. You won't hear me argue about that. But when we actually have a case where the minority has now become the majority, where do you go from there? And that's kind of what the University of Denver finds itself in. But instead of going, oh, maybe we should work for parity, no, let's continue going down the path we are going down, because that's gonna do well. That's gonna do well for everybody involved, right? No, it's really not. Now, it says here that events from last year included an alumni panel titled Fem and STEM, an art exhibit dedicated to celebrating Colorado women and their extraordinary stories, as well as a celebration for female students who graduated in the summer. The only event geared toward men was a screening of The Mask You Live In, a film touted as an opportunity to explore how our cultural definitions of masculinity itself may be a key component to driving the proliferation of harassment against women. So to summarize what that documentary is, women good, men bad. Again, just kind of more anti-male propaganda, which is where we find ourselves. And that is very interesting when you look at the current state of affairs, right? Yesterday was Father's Day, and a lot of people are celebrating it. And there's, again, op-eds. Maybe it's time to abolish Father's Day. Maybe it's time to get rid of the day altogether. Maybe men don't need a Father's Day. Never mind the fact that fatherlessness is a big problem, not just in our society, but just the human species, right? The human race. Fathers are a key integral component to a well-balanced upbringing. But no one wants to talk about that. No one wants to say what that is. No one wants to bring attention to it. Everyone just wants to be like, whoa, man. But the women's, that's where we find ourselves. It's sad that this is where things have gone, that even though they're in the majority in education and academia, they have been for a while, 2/3 of college graduates are women, they still act as if they're the minority. That's, some stuff right there, right? Uh, Now, it says, according to a recent job posting, University of Denver now seeks to further expand the CWC by hiring a new director of programming who will be responsible for continuing education, credit and non-credit bearing courses, co-curricular experiences, and other programming for women. Rather than granting bachelor's degrees to in an all-women setting, we're going to support the work and advancement of all University of Denver women, cis and trans women, and all the disciplines they are pursuing, as well as women regionally. So basically, it's just we're going to keep doing the same thing we've been doing since 1982 when we joined here, although we've stopped giving degrees ourselves. We're just kind of a weird, feminist wing of the University of Denver's staff or administration. So yeah, that's kind of how I take that one, at least. Now, notably, while the school claims to promote gender-balanced programming, information provided exclusively to Campus Reform reveals a moderate imbalance of educational success among the school's male and female students. For the entering freshman class of 2013, we had 47% male and 53% female, said University of Denver spokesman Madeline Phipps. Well, that's clearly a shift, right? That's a 6-point shift. Clearly then showing that women are now in the majority. But yet, female-only, female-centered programming maintains, continues, full steam ahead. In fact, you're recruiting, you're hiring new people to handle that job. I can't be the only one that looks at that as a, not necessarily the best. Now, by the time the class of 2013 walked on stage, data showed that the gender gap increased even further, as a graduation distribution for undergraduates is 43% male and 57% female. Now, Phipps does go on to say here that we don't have a simple explanation for why male students graduate at lower rates than female students. It is a national trend, and we don't have reason to suspect that we are underperforming relative to our peers in this regard. All right, so what does that mean? We identify that there is a parity issue. Men are graduating at a lesser rate than females, and not just at our university, but university and colleges across the board. Therefore, we have no reason to change anything because we can't identify the problem. So instead of identifying why men are coming in, fewer enrollments, fewer graduations, let's focus on female programming, right? Is that, to me, it feels like we're in a hole. Let's start digging our way out of the hole. Maybe one day we'll get to China and it will be okay. It's one of the stupidest explanations she could give. It's like, well, we don't know what's happening, but we're not going to change anything because clearly, we're fine. It's one of those, we don't want to break from the flock. We don't want to address the problem head on, because what problem is there to address? Ultimately, that's what she's saying. There's an issue, but where is the issue? Because if a men's group comes out and says, well, men are now the minority on college campuses, the minority of graduates, the minority in enrollees, well, what about them? And then the response back from that is going to be, well, won't someone please think of the women's? And that's where we find ourselves every single damn time this subject comes up in any kind of conversation, right? It's always well, what about all of the previous years of patriarchy and oppression on women? Is that where we are right now? No. Did it suck back then? Absolutely. Have things gotten better? Clearly, proven, 100% gotten better. But you're still acting as if you're the victim. And this is the same thing they attack a lot of other people for. The same argument. It's really funny. You're the elite, but you're acting like you're the victim, right? These feminists, these SJWs are just Republicans in disguise. It really, like I said, they're the ones in our political climate right now that have the all three branches of government, but still act every day like they're the victims. That's the same mentality. Opposite sides of a very similar coin. It's just bad. Now, Denver University's, or the DU's graduation gap strongly parallels the national graduation gap. As Flint professor Mark Perry pointed out, when rounded to the nearest whole number, the class of 2018 was 43% female and 57% male, meaning 134 women earned a bachelor's degree for every 100 men. Right? Now, the U.S. Department of Education, I think that might have been backwards. I think it's 43% male and 53%, 57% female, 43% male is what I think it is. Now, the U.S. Department of Education predicts that the gap will only increase if current trends continue unabated. And it goes on to say here finally that the University of Denver does not have any retention or academic success programming oriented towards male students. And the spokeswoman did not immediately clarify if the school has any future plans to help male students succeed. To be fair, why would they? Now, I don't agree with that, obviously. I think my commentary on this particular article and this particular subject matter, as I've talked about it many times over the past couple of years, stipulates 100% that I'm against this type of inequality. I'm against inequality on all fronts, but this is one of the big ones. This is a big problem. Unfortunately, the way that we're seeing it is that these colleges, these universities have no issue to change, no reason to change. For if men's groups come out and actually say, hey, listen, men are being underrepresented on campus, we're not having the same programs pushed towards us, they're going to sit there and say, well, you're the oppressor, you're the patriarchy, you're part of the problem, and do better. That's where they are. And it's going to be this, again, the pendulum is starting to shift back the other direction. And I think in the next couple of years, it will get quite interesting to see where these things go. And I don't think there's going to be one big, huge, major cultural revolution off of this. But at the same time, and I do put this out there to men who are college students and just men in general, speak up on these issues, post these articles, share this information. Because when you are dealing with a group of people that preach that they are pro-equality and they are 100% pro parity, pro fitty, all that stuff, and you can show them that there's this disturbing trend in graduates, that boys are, and this is happening. This is not just like the university situation with men graduating at lesser rates. Actually is a systemic issue going back into elementary school and the public school system. Boys are continuously being left behind in the educational process, and oftentimes vilified for it. So this is probably, again, it's a systemic trend, starting with the young boys. And I think a lot of it too has to deal with fatherlessness, a lack of a male role model, and the fact that boys are told that boys are bad and men are told that men are bad. But yet every time you acknowledge that there are problems in both genders, people on the feminists, the social justice warriors will like to remind you that that is simply not the case and that you are part of the patriarchy and therefore part of the problem. And they do everything they can to never acknowledge their own position in this particular situation. And it is just, it's a goddamn fucking shame. It is. It's a goddamn shame. And, I'm hoping that it does change, and I will never not speak about this. I will never not talk about this. And if I do have a son, I will make sure every available opportunity to him is afforded. And if there ever is an equal moment with the education, if a teacher does target him for being a boy, she or he or they or Zer or that attack helicopter will sure as shit hear about it from me, just as every single child should have their parent fight for them in that regard, if they are being targeted for whatever reason. I just feel that when it comes to boys, they're left behind because they're boys. And that's clearly showing itself now years later in colleges when boys are just not going to school to get a higher education. That's where we find ourselves. And that is sad, it's pathetic, and it's something that our country and our society should not stand for. But this problem is not one that a lot of people know about. So if you want, share the video around, leave your comments. I'd love to hear them. And be sure to thumbs it up, subscribe. Click that bell. Come back for more content from me if you want it. If you want to support the channel, patreon.com/Mundane Matt's a great way. Teespring.com, Mundane Matt also. And if you just want to watch more content, you can do that right now.